We're just going to give a very, very quick 5+ minutes overview of where we've got to. This, as has been mentioned several times this morning, this is the newest working group. A quick sort of update stroke background to where we started and how we've got to where we are today. So in terms of smart buildings, the goal of the working group has been to try and so far try and establish comprehensive set of guidelines, and I know we've already seen some guidelines produced by some of the other groups. We're trying to produce something similar, but the thing is that because we're the newest one, in some respects, one of the things that we're trying to do is use the existing guidance that's been produced and adapt that for smart buildings. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do. On top of that, we're also trying to produce new guidelines as well. So partly producing new guidelines to help the supply chain participate in specifying and working all levels and the whole range of different stakeholders that they are, which does include intelligent buildings, equipments, controls, etc. How have we got to where we are today? Basically, we had a meeting earlier on this year that was Paul Dorey. James and I met up with him. We agreed some sort of a quick approach, met with the rest of the team in June, and from then on started to sort of put together a workshop which did take place in September, but the launch of the workshop was in IFSEC in June. We had a sort of really active sort of plenary session which took place in July. We invited our target list and we had the workshop in September. But this image here is our launch that we had in the June with James, Paul Dorey, and Steve Kenny from Axis, who'll be speaking later on, and Mike Hurst, I believe he's here from Axis. So that was the launch that we had in IFSEC. IFSEC is one of the largest physical security events in the world. It's certainly the largest in UK that focuses on physical security. And we promoted on social media about the session we had in September. This is us back in June, just promoting a converged SOC and looking at protecting IoT in real time. Did you want to say something, James?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's really great that we can apply the framework that you've just been hearing so much about and then put it into a building and actually relate it. And that's what our task is, really. And then we're gathering together as many different stakeholders that Sarb mentioned, from end users right the way through to designers, systems integrators, all the people that you need to know the things that we've produced over the years, or at least the IoTSF has, and make it really relevant. And that way, for example, I work at the moment still for Loughborough University as a lecturer, and I can safely say to you that the framework that's being put out there now is as good, as many other frameworks that exist, but it's a shortened version, or it's compiled over lots of different sources, and that's what you really need. You don't necessarily have the time as necessarily students to go through all the different research, and I have to do that in my job at the moment, doing that as part-time, but this has already been done for you. And obviously you've still got to do that. And that's what we've got to try and help the security managers, the physical security managers often, or the facilities managers, who really don't understand a lot of this technical stuff that many of you here do understand, but we want to make it as practical for them in a 15, 20-page guide. And that's what we're doing by setting up these groups, getting the stakeholders in, and that's the aim, really. And we've got quite a few already. We've got 10, 15 in the subgroups that we've formed. So,
yeah, thank you. Basically, we'd had a workshop which was in September. As a result of that workshop, we then had a follow-up call, and that follow-up call produced the 4 subgroups that I mentioned there. What we are doing between the two of us is that we are managing 2 of the groups each, but we are putting them together because we don't want to spread ourselves too thin. So James has been working on the research and guidance one. I'm working on strategic and awareness. And the first calls for these subgroups are actually taking place next week. So these are some of the topics that we're going to be covering on the strategic awareness. And the research and the guidance. Now, we've got to emphasise that we haven't got any preconceptions about what we want to produce. What we're trying to do is work with those people who've shown interest and make sure that they are involved in what comes out. James and I, yes, we do have a lot of experience, but what we're trying to do is not use our experience to control our worldview. What we're trying to do is involve as many people as possible, so we have got a good understanding of the whole range of stakeholders that are involved in smart buildings. It's not just the physical guys, it's not just the logical security or cybersecurity guys. There's a whole range of other stakeholders that are involved as well. And that's really the key thing that we're trying to do in the way that we're working. Just check. Yep. Next steps are our next calls, which are next week. If anyone here is interested, we're both here. We're speaking later on this afternoon on another topic. We can give you more information. Get in touch with us via email or any other way. You will have our details. So there is a lot of work that we're doing for next year that we think we can do. The key thing is trying to draw up some sort of a shortlist where we've provided some quick wins that we can work on and some more meatier, chunkier stuff that hasn't been provided by the IoTSF in some of the other working groups, which is unique. At the moment, most of what we possibly can try and produce is based on existing work, but we want to move away from that as well to provide something that's unique, that's very specific for the group as well. Anything else? No. Yep. Okay, great. I think that's us done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.